Humanity had finally established contact with intelligent extraterrestrial life. The United Earth Space Command (USC) dispatched its first diplomatic mission to the distant star system of Proxima Centauri. Among the crew was Lieutenant Commander Alara Quinn, a highly skilled officer, known for her calm demeanor and tactical brilliance. But nothing could have prepared her for what was to come. The alien species, known as the Zylorians, had always been a mystery, enigmatic beings with advanced technology and a culture shrouded in secrecy. The USC knew little about their intentions, but peace was the primary goal. Alara had been chosen for this mission due to her impeccable record and her unique ability to empathize with others. As the human delegation's ship approached the Zylorian mothership, Alara's heart pounded in her chest. She had studied every piece of intelligence on the Zylorians, but no data could capture the essence of an encounter with the unknown. She was about to meet the alien ambassador, Zorath, a being with a reputation as both fierce and wise. Upon entering the grand hall of the Zylorian vessel, Alara was struck by the beauty of their architecture, vast organic structures that seemed to pulse with life. It was a testament to the Zylorians' connection to their environment, a bond that went beyond mere technology. Alara's breath caught in her throat as she saw Zorath for the first time. The alien's blue skin shimmered under the ambient light, and his eyes, glowing with an inner luminescence, pierced through her. Yet, in those eyes, she found something unexpected: understanding, curiosity, and a strange familiarity. As they began to talk, an unforeseen connection sparked between them. Alara had always been a professional, keeping her emotions in check, but there was something about Zorath that broke through her defenses. Perhaps it was his voice, deep and resonant, or the way he spoke of the universe in ways that echoed her own unspoken thoughts. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, touching on subjects from their cultures to the vastness of space and the potential of what lay beyond. However, beneath the surface of their interaction, something darker brewed. Unknown to Alara, there was a faction within the Zylorian hierarchy that opposed any alliance with humanity. They saw Earth as a threat, and Zorath's growing attachment to Alara as a betrayal. The seeds of conspiracy had already been sown, and forces were moving to sabotage the mission. One night, as Alara and Zorath shared a quiet moment overlooking the nebulae from the observation deck, their connection deepened. Zorath revealed that the Zylorians had a legend, a prophecy about a union between two beings from different worlds that would bring about a new era of peace or lead to destruction. It was a legend that many in his species feared. As he spoke, a shiver ran down Alara's spine. She felt the weight of those words and the gaze of countless stars bearing witness to their moment. Unbeknownst to them, shadows lurked in the corridors of the ship, plotting against them. A rogue faction within the Zylorians was determined to see this union fail, to ignite a war that would change the course of history. The night before the signing of the peace accord, Zorath and Alara shared a passionate kiss, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they had formed, an impossible love in a universe full of boundaries. But as they parted, an explosion rocked the ship, alarms blared, and the lights flickered ominously. Zorath's eyes widened in fear, not for himself, but for Alara. "Stay close to me," he commanded, as the walls seemed to close in on them. Betrayed from within, they had to escape a labyrinth of treachery and deceit to not only save themselves, but to prevent a war that could consume both their worlds. But who could they trust when both their species had those who sought to see them destroyed? As they navigated the dangers of the ship, the bond between them would be tested like never before, and the prophecy would begin to unfold in ways neither could have imagined. The story will continue to follow Alara and Zorath as they fight against the odds, facing not only external enemies, but also the internal struggles that come with their impossible relationship. With each twist and turn, secrets will be revealed, alliances will shift, and the fate of two worlds will hang in the balance. In the dead of night, the world seemed quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that draped over the earth, suffocating its inhabitants with an unseen force. But thousands of light years away, in the depths of a distant galaxy, something stirred. Something ancient. Something malevolent. Chapter 1. The Signal. Dr. Evelyn Parker, a renowned astrophysicist, had dedicated her life to the stars. For years, she had scoured the cosmos, searching for signs of life beyond our solar system. But what she discovered on that fateful night was not the benevolent contact she had hoped for. Her equipment picked up a strange, rhythmic signal emanating from the far reaches of space, an unknown galaxy that seemed almost sentient in its reach. The signal was consistent, like a heartbeat, and as she and her team analyzed it, they began to uncover an encrypted message buried within its waves. It was a warning. Chapter 2: The Arrival. As the days passed, the signal grew stronger, more urgent. Governments around the world scrambled to make sense of it, but Dr. Parker knew better. She could feel the darkness approaching, like a shadow creeping over her very soul. Then came the night when the stars themselves seemed to dim. A massive object emerged from the void, a colossal spacecraft, dwarfing the moon itself, and hovering just at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Panic swept the globe. People flooded the streets, praying, screaming, and gazing up at the sky as the craft blotted out the stars. The world was at the brink of hysteria when the first contact was made. But it wasn't a message of peace or exploration. It was a declaration of conquest. Chapter 3: The Invasion. As the alien craft descended, cities were plunged into chaos. Military forces from every nation fired upon the vessel, but their efforts were in vain. The ship's technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Pulses of energy erupted from the craft, disabling all electronic devices and plunging the world into darkness. From the shadows emerged the invaders, tall, gaunt beings with cold, expressionless faces and eyes that seemed to absorb all light. Their movements were methodical, almost mechanical, as they began their march across the planet. But these were not conquerors driven by greed or power. They were harvesters, stripping the Earth of its resources, both material and biological. Chapter 4: The Resistance Amidst the Despair. A small group of survivors banded together, led by Dr. Parker and a former military officer, Captain James Thorne. They formed the last line of defense, a resistance determined to fight back against the alien scourge. Using what little technology remained, they uncovered the truth behind the invasion. The alien species, known as the Zyros, had traveled from their dying galaxy, seeking new life-sustaining planets. Earth was merely another in a long line of conquests. But the Zyros had a weakness, one hidden deep within the signal that had first alerted humanity to their presence. Dr. Parker discovered that the signal carried a frequency that could disrupt the Zyros' neural communication, potentially giving the resistance a fighting chance. Chapter 5: The Final Stand. With time running out, the resistance launched a desperate attack on the alien mothership. The plan was simple yet perilous: infiltrate the ship, plant the frequency disruptor at its core, and hope it would sever the Zyros' link to their hive mind. As the team made their way into the heart of the ship, they encountered horrors beyond imagination. Chambers filled with the harvested remains of Earth's population, their life force drained to sustain the invaders. But they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure meant extinction. In the final moments, Captain Thorne sacrificed himself to buy Dr. Parker enough time to activate the disruptor. As the device pulsed with energy, the ship trembled, and the Zyros faltered, their once coordinated movements descending into chaos. The mothership, unable to maintain its gravitational pull, began to crumble, breaking apart in a spectacular explosion that lit up the night sky. The remaining Zyros on Earth, now disconnected from their hive mind, were swiftly defeated by the scattered remnants of humanity's forces. Chapter 6: The Aftermath. The morning after the battle was eerily silent. The once glorious cities lay in ruins, but Earth had survived. Dr. Parker, standing amidst the wreckage, looked up at the sky where the alien ship had once loomed. Though they had won the battle, she knew the war was far from over. The Zyros had been just the first wave. There were others out there, lurking in the dark corners of the universe, waiting to strike. But humanity had learned to fight back, and as long as there was hope, they would be ready. Chapter 1: The Transformation. Alara had always known she was different. Even as a child, she felt an inexplicable connection to the stars. While other children played in the daylight, Alara was drawn to the night, captivated by the mysteries of the cosmos. She would spend hours lying in the grass, staring up at the heavens, feeling as if someone was watching her in return. Her dreams were filled with images of distant worlds, strange beings, and landscapes that were both alien and familiar. These dreams became more vivid as she grew older, but she dismissed them as mere figments of an overactive imagination. On her 25th birthday, everything changed. The night sky was clear, and a rare planetary alignment was occurring, a celestial event that hadn't happened in millennia. Alara stood alone in a field, watching as the planets aligned, one by one. As the final alignment occurred, a sharp pain shot through her body, causing her to collapse to the ground. She felt as though she was being torn apart from the inside, as if something within her was awakening. When she finally regained consciousness, she was no longer the same. Her skin had become pale, almost translucent, and her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. She could feel a surge of power coursing through her veins, and her mind was flooded with memories that were not her own. Memories of a dying alien world, of a race on the brink of extinction, and of a dark force that sought to consume everything in its path. Terrified and confused, Alara fled home, only to find that she could no longer control the strange abilities that had been awakened within her. Objects around her began to move on their own, responding to her emotions, and she could hear the thoughts of those around her. It was as if she had become a living antenna, picking up signals from the universe itself. Desperate for answers, she sought out Dr. Alaric Voss, a reclusive scientist known for his work in extraterrestrial phenomena. Chapter 2: The Prophecy and the Chase. Dr. Voss was skeptical at first, but when he saw Alara's transformation and the strange abilities she now possessed, he knew that something extraordinary was happening. He revealed to Alara an ancient prophecy that spoke of a hybrid being, half human, half alien, who would one day arise to unite two worlds and face an impending doom. This prophecy, long dismissed as a myth, suddenly seemed all too real. But Alara was not convinced. How could she, an ordinary woman, be the key to saving the world? As they delved deeper into the prophecy, Alara and Dr. Voss discovered that her alien heritage was the result of a long-forgotten experiment conducted by an ancient alien civilization. This experiment was their last hope to create a being capable of wielding a power known as the Celestial Flame, the only force capable of stopping the Void Eater, an ancient entity that devours entire planets and civilizations. The Void Eater was not just a physical entity, but a force of nature, capable of manipulating reality itself, and it was now heading toward Earth. Meanwhile, Alara's sudden awakening had not gone unnoticed. A sinister organization known as the Black Horizon, which had been monitoring extraterrestrial activity for years, was alerted to her presence. Led by the ruthless Marius Kane, the Black Horizon believed that Alara's powers could be harnessed to conquer the stars, and they were determined to capture her at any cost. Alara and Dr. Voss were forced to go on the run, pursued relentlessly by the Black Horizon. Along the way, they encountered other hybrids, failed experiments from the ancient civilization, now hunted by the Black Horizon as well. These hybrids, though incomplete, possessed unique abilities and helped Alara understand the extent of her powers. Each encounter brought them closer to understanding the true nature of the threat they faced, but also deepened the mystery of Alara's origins. Chapter 3: The Alliance and the Betrayal. After narrowly escaping multiple attempts on their lives, Alara and Dr. Voss finally made contact with the last survivors of the alien race who had created her. These beings had taken refuge in a hidden base, far from the prying eyes of humanity. They revealed the full extent of the prophecy. The Void Eater was rapidly approaching Earth, and time was running out. The only way to stop it was to merge Alara's human and alien sides completely, unlocking her full potential as the Celestial Flame's wielder. But this process was dangerous and could consume her entirely. The aliens proposed a risky plan, an alliance between the remnants of their race and the hybrids to create a powerful psychic network that would channel Alara's powers directly into the Void Eater. This network would be capable of amplifying the Celestial Flame, but it required a deep, unwavering connection, a unity of minds that transcended species. As they prepared for the final confrontation, tensions ran high. Marius Kane, realizing that he could not control Alara, decided to take matters into his own hands. He betrayed the Black Horizon, revealing that his true intention was not to save Earth, but to use the Void Eater to cleanse the planet of all life. Cain believed that only through destruction could a new, perfect world be born, a world in which he would reign supreme. Cain captured Alara, intending to force her to unleash the celestial flame, not to save the world, but to destroy it. In a desperate battle, Dr. Voss and the remaining hybrids launched a daring rescue mission to save Alara. They infiltrated Cain's fortress, where a fierce confrontation ensued. During the battle, Alara realized that the only way to stop Cain and the Void Eater was to embrace her alien side completely, sacrificing her humanity in the process. Chapter 4: The Final Stand. In the climactic final act, Alara unleashed her full power, merging with the celestial flame. The Void Eater, now visible in the night sky as a massive, swirling vortex of darkness, was within striking distance of Earth. As the world watched in terror, Alara and the hybrids initiated the psychic network, channeling all their mental energy into the celestial flame. The air around them crackled with energy as a beam of pure psychic force shot out toward the Void Eater. The two forces collided in a dazzling display of light and energy, shaking the very fabric of space-time. For a moment, it seemed as though the plan had worked. The Void Eater's advance was halted, its form beginning to break apart under the onslaught of the celestial flame. But then, to everyone's horror, the Void Eater retaliated. It unleashed a wave of destructive energy that surged toward Earth, threatening to wipe out all life in an instant. Alara, using every ounce of strength she had left, directed the celestial flame to absorb the energy, but it was too much. The strain on the psychic network was immense, and one by one, the minds of the hybrids began to falter. In a final act of desperation, Alara made a choice. She would sacrifice herself to amplify the celestial flame, channeling the last of her life force into the beam. With a final, agonizing push, she succeeded in turning the tide. The celestial flame grew in strength, overwhelming the Void Eater, which began to collapse in on itself, its dark form disintegrating into nothingness. The beam continued until there was no trace of the Void Eater left, and then all was silent. Chapter 5: The Aftermath. The battle was over, but the cost was high. Alara, along with several members of the hybrids, had given their lives to save the planet. The alien beings, now the last of their kind, expressed their deep gratitude to humanity before departing Earth to find a new home among the stars. They left behind a legacy of knowledge and a reminder that, even in the face of unimaginable darkness, there is always hope when different beings come together for a common cause. In the aftermath, the world mourned the loss of the heroes who had saved them. Alara's name became synonymous with bravery and sacrifice. Monuments were erected in her honor, and her story was told across generations as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The technology and knowledge shared by the aliens led to a new era of scientific and technological advancement on Earth, forever changing the course of human history. Yet, even as the world moved forward, a sense of unease lingered. The universe was vast and filled with unknown dangers. The Void Eater was just one of many threats that lurked in the darkness of space. But for now, humanity could take solace in the fact that they had faced one of the greatest challenges imaginable and emerged victorious. The stars above, once a source of fear, now shone with new possibilities, beckoning humanity to explore the mysteries that lay beyond. And so, the story of Alara, the hybrid who bridged two worlds, became legend, a tale of unity, sacrifice, and the enduring hope that, no matter how dark the night, there is always light to be found. Chapter 1: The Silent Desolation. And humanity had finally conquered the Red Planet. Mars was no longer just a distant dream, it was a reality. The first successful colonies were established, and the Mars exploration program had begun its most ambitious mission yet, to uncover the planet's deepest secrets. Among the team of elite astronauts was Captain Alex Mercer, a seasoned explorer haunted by the ghosts of his past. Alex was a man of few words, but his actions spoke volumes. His life had been marked by loss. His wife, a fellow astronaut, had perished in a tragic accident during a mission years ago. This journey to Mars was not just another mission for him, it was a chance at redemption, a final opportunity to make peace with his past. But as the vast Martian landscape stretched out before him, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him from the shadows. The mission had gone according to plan until the fourth week. A violent sandstorm, unlike anything recorded before, struck the base with unprecedented ferocity. Communications were lost, and the rest of the crew vanished without a trace. When Alex awoke, he found himself alone in the desolate Martian wasteland, with no sign of his team. Only the relentless howling of the wind and the crimson dust that swirled around him. Desperation gnawed at his sanity as Alex scoured the area for any sign of his crew. Days turned into weeks, and the isolation began to weigh heavily on him. Just when he was about to lose hope, he saw it, a figure standing motionless in the distance. At first, he thought it was a hallucination, a trick of the light. But as he approached, he realized it was real. Standing before him was a being unlike anything he had ever seen. It was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Its head was large, with elongated features and eyes that glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light. The creature stood silently, watching Alex with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Chapter 2: The Alien Encounter. For a moment, neither Alex nor the alien moved. The tension between them was palpable. Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he stared into the creature's eyes, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. But there was no time for fear. The alien raised its hand, not in a threatening manner, but as if it were trying to communicate. Alex hesitated, then slowly raised his own hand, mirroring the alien's gesture. To his astonishment, the creature nodded, as if acknowledging the gesture. It was then that Alex realized this being was intelligent, and perhaps it was trying to help him. The alien beckoned for Alex to follow, leading him across the barren landscape to a hidden entrance beneath the surface of Mars. As they descended into the depths of the planet, Alex couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and trepidation. The underground world was vast, filled with ancient structures and technology that far surpassed anything humanity had ever created. The alien, who Alex began to think of as the Guardian, communicated through a series of gestures and telepathic images, revealing the history of its people. Mars had once been a thriving world, home to a civilization that had reached the pinnacle of technological advancement. But their thirst for power had led to their downfall. They had accidentally unleashed a force so powerful and malevolent that it had consumed their world, leaving it a barren wasteland. Chapter 3: The Dark Secret of Mars. The Guardian explained that this force, known as the Devourer, was not of this universe. It was a being from another dimension, one that fed on the life force of entire planets. The ancient Martians had fought bravely, but in the end, they had no choice but to sacrifice their civilization to contain the Devourer. They had sealed it deep within the planet, using their most advanced technology to keep it imprisoned. But the seal was weakening, and the Devourer was beginning to awaken. Alex listened in stunned silence as the Guardian revealed that the Devourer's awakening was what had caused the sandstorm that had separated him from his crew. The Guardian had been watching the human activities on Mars and had sensed that the time was near when the Devourer would break free. It had been waiting for someone who could help stop the impending disaster. The Guardian led Alex to the heart of the underground city, where a massive, ancient machine stood dormant. It was the key to reactivating the seal that held the Devourer at bay. But the machine required a sacrifice. Only a being with a strong life force could power it, and the Guardian had been keeping itself alive for this very purpose. Chapter 4: The Sacrifice. As Alex stood before the machine, the weight of the situation bore down on him. The Guardian communicated one final message. If the Devourer escaped, it would not only destroy Mars, but would also move on to Earth and other planets, consuming everything in its path. The Guardian was prepared to sacrifice itself to save both worlds, but it needed Alex's help to complete the process. The choice was clear, but it was not easy. Alex had come to Mars seeking redemption, and now he was faced with the ultimate test. He could either leave Mars and let the Devourer escape, dooming both Mars and Earth, or he could stay and assist the Guardian in its final act of self-sacrifice. In the end, Alex chose to stay. As the Guardian entered the machine, Alex activated the controls, feeling the energy surge around him. The machine roared to life, and a brilliant light filled the chamber. The Guardian's life force was drained into the machine, and Alex could feel the immense power building as the seal was reactivated. But as the process neared completion, something unexpected happened. The Guardian transferred a portion of its consciousness to Alex. a final gift to help him understand the true nature of the universe. In that moment, Alex saw visions of distant worlds, ancient civilizations, and the cosmic forces that shaped the universe. Chapter 5: The Return. When the light finally faded, Alex found himself alone in the chamber. The Guardian was gone, its essence now part of the machine that would keep the Devourer imprisoned for another millennium. The city was silent once more, and Alex knew that his mission was complete. But there was still one final task. Using the Guardian's knowledge, Alex managed to repair the communication systems and send a signal back to Earth. A rescue team was dispatched, and Alex was brought back to his home planet, a hero. Yet the experience had changed him. The knowledge and memories of the Guardian had been passed on to him, and with it came a sense of responsibility. Alex knew that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that there were forces far greater than anyone could imagine. He had been given a glimpse of the infinite, and it was a burden he would carry for the rest of his life. Epilogue: A new beginning. Years passed, and Alex became an advocate for the responsible exploration of space. He shared his experiences with those who would listen, warning them of the dangers that lay beyond the stars. His story became legend, a tale of courage, sacrifice, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. But Alex knew that his journey was not over. There were still many mysteries to uncover, many battles to be fought. And as long as he lived, he would be ready to face whatever challenges the universe had in store. For he was no longer just a man, he was the last living legacy of the Guardian of Mars. Introduction. The cold, sterile air of the laboratory felt like 1,000 tiny needles pricking the skin of those who dared to enter. Hidden deep within a top-secret facility, the room was a vault of unimaginable secrets, where only the highest levels of government and science met in a shadowy alliance. Tonight, however, the secret it held was something no one had ever seen, a being not of this world. Chapter 1: The Discovery. It all began with a signal, a faint pulse of energy from a distant star system. At first it was dismissed as cosmic noise, but the pattern repeated, growing stronger, more insistent. The world's most powerful telescopes honed in on the source, and what they found shocked the scientific community. A small craft, drifting aimlessly in space, its origin unknown. The decision was made swiftly. It had to be brought back to Earth. As the recovery team approached the craft, they were awestruck. The vessel was sleek, made of a material unlike anything known to man, reflecting the light of the stars like liquid silver. But what truly captivated them was what lay inside, a being, frail and delicate, but undoubtedly alive, at least at some point. Chapter 2: The Examination. The alien was placed on a steel examination table, its long, slender limbs resting motionless. The creature's skin was a pale, translucent white, almost resembling the texture of fine silk. Scientists gathered around, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. This was no ordinary biological specimen. This was the first tangible proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. Under the harsh laboratory lights, every detail of the alien's anatomy was exposed. Its head was large, with deep-set eyes that appeared closed, as if in a state of eternal sleep. Its body, though humanoid in shape, was oddly elongated, with ribbed ridges running along its torso and limbs, suggesting a skeletal structure that defied human understanding. Chapter 3: The Autopsy. The decision to perform an autopsy was not made lightly. Ethical questions were raised, but the thirst for knowledge overruled any doubts. With the precision of a surgeon, the lead scientist made the first incision, and immediately the room was filled with a strange, almost sweet odor, unlike anything they had ever encountered. As the scalpel cut deeper, the creature's insides revealed more mysteries, organs that did not match any known anatomy, a circulatory system that seemed to shimmer with bioluminescent liquid, and a heart that, though still, seemed to pulse with a faint, dying glow. But as the autopsy progressed, something unexpected happened. The alien's body began to change, its skin darkening, its limbs contracting. It was as if the creature was reacting to the intrusion, its form shifting in ways that defied logic. Panic spread through the room as the being's transformation accelerated, but the scientists, driven by their obsession, pressed on. Chapter 4. The Awakening. Suddenly, the aliens' eyes snapped open. They were pitch black, reflecting the terror in the room like dark mirrors. The being, once lifeless, was now alive, its body writhing on the table. Alarms blared as the scientists scrambled to contain the situation. But it was too late. The creature had awakened, and it was not pleased. With a surge of inhuman strength, the alien broke free from its restraints, its limbs twisting in unnatural ways as it stood. The room was plunged into chaos as the creature turned its gaze towards the humans. Its eyes filled with an emotion they could not comprehend: rage. Chapter 5. The Escape. As the alien moved through the lab, the air crackled with an energy that caused the lights to flicker. Equipment short-circuited, and the temperature dropped rapidly, frosting the glass of the observation windows. The being's movements were fluid, almost graceful, as it navigated the facility, seemingly unhindered by the panic it left in its wake. Security was called, but their weapons seemed useless against the creature. Bullets passed through it as if it were made of smoke, and any attempts to subdue it only seemed to anger it further. It was clear that this was no ordinary being. It was something far more advanced, far more dangerous. Chapter 6. The Revelation. As the alien made its way to the heart of the facility, it stopped suddenly, as if sensing something. It turned its gaze to a large screen displaying images of Earth, oceans, forests, cities, and people. The creature's expression changed, a flicker of recognition crossing its face. It reached out, touching the screen, and in that moment, a wave of information flooded the computers. Images, sounds, and data far beyond human understanding. The scientists watched in awe as the alien began to communicate, not with words, but with images and emotions. It was trying to tell them something important. But as the data streamed in, it became clear that what the alien was showing them was not just about its own world. It was about Earth and the dangers that lay ahead. Chapter 7. The Departure. Realizing that the alien meant no harm, the scientists tried to communicate back, offering peace and assistance. But the creature's time was limited. Its body, still weak from its ordeal, began to deteriorate once more. It was dying, and this time, nothing could stop it. With a final burst of energy, the alien activated a beacon, summoning a ship from the depths of space. The craft, identical to the one found earlier, appeared in the sky, its lights piercing the darkness. The alien, now barely able to stand, was lifted from the ground by a beam of light, returning to its vessel. As the ship ascended, the scientists watched in silence, knowing they had witnessed something extraordinary. But the images the alien had shared remained, a warning of what was to come. And as the ship disappeared into the night sky, they knew that their lives and the fate of the world had been changed forever. Chapter 8. The Aftermath. In the days that followed, the facility was locked down, and the events of that night were classified at the highest levels. The data collected was studied by the world's top minds, but much of it remained a mystery. The images the alien had shown were of a future they could not fully understand. A future where humanity was not alone in the universe, but part of a much larger, more complex web of life. The scientists who had been there that night were sworn to secrecy, but the experience haunted them. The alien's face, its eyes, the images it shared, they were all imprinted in their minds, a constant reminder of the unknown. And though the world went on, oblivious to what had happened, those who knew the truth were left with a lingering fear of what the future might hold. Chapter 9. The Legacy. Years later, the incident became the subject of speculation and conspiracy theories, but the truth remained hidden. The world had moved on, but the scientists had not. They continued their work in secret, driven by the need to understand what they had witnessed. The data from the alien was slowly decrypted, revealing glimpses of a vast, interconnected universe, full of life and danger. The warnings the alien had given were not just for the present, but for the future, a future where humanity would face challenges beyond its wildest imagination. And so, the legacy of the alien lived on, in the minds of those who knew the truth, and in the quiet, hidden work that continued in the shadows. The world remained unaware, but those who had seen the alien knew that one day the truth would come to light, and the world would never be the same again. Conclusion. The alien's message was clear. Humanity was not alone, and the universe was far more complex and dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The scientists had seen the future, and it was a future that would test humanity in ways it had never been tested before. The question was, would humanity be ready when the time came? Only time would tell. The story, The Curse of the Ancient One. In the barren, inhospitable expanse of the Atacama Desert, a team of researchers stumbled upon what would become the greatest and most terrifying discovery of the century. Led by Dr. Elena Marquez, a renowned anthropologist, the team was on an ordinary expedition, searching for relics of a long-lost civilization that had once thrived in the harsh desert landscape. As they delved deeper into the desert, far from any known historical site, their instruments began to pick up strange signals, as if something beneath the sands was trying to communicate. Intrigued and unnerved, they decided to investigate further, unearthing what appeared to be the entrance to a hidden burial chamber. The entrance was sealed with a massive stone slab, covered in strange, indecipherable glyphs that glowed faintly in the moonlight. The team, armed with cutting-edge technology and driven by curiosity, managed to open the entrance, revealing a staircase leading deep into the earth. As they descended, the temperature dropped unnaturally, and the air grew thick with an oppressive energy that made their skin crawl. At the bottom of the staircase, they found a massive stone chamber. It was filled with artifacts that defied explanation, objects made from materials that were not of this world, and paintings depicting scenes of otherworldly beings and landscapes that had never been seen on Earth. But what caught their attention the most was a stone sarcophagus in the center of the chamber, unlike any they had ever seen. It was covered in intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with a life of their own, and as they approached, they felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Despite the warnings of some team members, Dr. Marquez decided to open the sarcophagus, believing that it could hold the key to unlocking the mysteries of the ancient civilization they were studying. As the lid was slowly lifted, a gust of freezing air escaped from within, extinguishing their torches and plunging the chamber into darkness. When they relit their torches, they saw it, a mummified figure, small and fragile, with skin of an ashen gray hue and eyes that were closed tightly shut. The figure was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its features were almost human, but there was something alien, something not of this earth about its appearance. Next to the body was a stone tablet, covered in the same glyphs that had been on the entrance slab. Dr. Marquez, against her better judgment, took the tablet and the mummy back to their base camp, where they could study it in detail. But from the moment they left the chamber, strange things began to happen. The desert around them seemed to come alive with whispers, shadows that moved on their own, and a deep, unnatural cold that clung to them even in the heat of the day. As they began to study the tablet, they discovered that the glyphs were not just a language, they were a warning. The tablet told the story of an ancient being, a powerful entity that had once ruled over this world before humankind ever walked the earth. This being had been worshipped as a god, but its followers had turned against it, trapping it within a mortal form and sealing it away in the chamber to prevent it from ever rising again. The tablet described the entity as a bringer of death, a force of unimaginable power that could not be killed, only contained. And now, by opening the sarcophagus, they had released its essence back into the world. The members of the team began to experience terrifying visions, nightmares of a world consumed by darkness, of a being that fed on the fear and despair of those around it. One by one, they started to lose their sanity. Some began to speak in tongues, others withdrew into themselves, refusing to eat or drink, and some simply vanished without a trace. Dr. Marquez, realizing the gravity of their mistake, desperately tried to contain the entity's power. She sought help from historians, occultists, and even scientists specializing in the paranormal. They all came to the same conclusion: the entity could not be stopped by any means they knew of. It was feeding off the fear and chaos it was causing, growing stronger with each passing day. As the entity's power grew, it began to reach out beyond the desert, affecting people across the globe. Natural disasters, unexplained phenomena, and mass hysteria spread like wildfire. The world was beginning to fall apart, and Dr. Marquez knew that it was only a matter of time before the entity fully manifested itself in our reality. In a final desperate attempt to stop the entity, Dr. Marquez and the few surviving members of her team returned to the chamber, hoping to find a way to reseal the sarcophagus and trap the entity once more. But when they arrived, they found the chamber transformed. The walls were now covered in blood-red glyphs that seemed to writhe and pulse with malevolent energy, and the sarcophagus was open, the mummy inside gone. The entity had fully awakened, and it was furious. As the chamber began to collapse around them, Dr. Marquez realized that there was only one way to stop the entity. She would have to take its place. She would have to bind her soul to the sarcophagus, sealing it with her own life force to trap the entity within. With tears in her eyes and a heavy heart, Dr. Marquez began the ritual. The glyphs on the walls flared with light as she chanted the incantation, and the air grew thick with the stench of sulfur and decay. The entity, sensing what she was about to do, manifested itself in the chamber, a towering figure of shadow and flame, its eyes burning with hatred. But Dr. Marquez did not waver. She completed the ritual, and as the last words left her lips, the entity let out a scream that shook the very foundations of the earth. The chamber was engulfed in light, and then all was silent. When the dust settled, the chamber was empty, save for the sarcophagus. The glyphs had faded, and the oppressive energy that had filled the air was gone. The entity had been trapped once more, but at the cost of Dr. Marquez's life. The surviving team members, broken and exhausted, left the chamber for the last time, sealing the entrance behind them. They made a pact to never speak of what had happened, to let the entity and Dr. Marquez's sacrifice remain a secret buried in the sands of the Atacama. But some secrets cannot stay buried forever. The world began to heal, the strange phenomena ceased, and life returned to normal. But there were those who remembered the stories, who whispered of a hidden chamber in the desert, where an ancient evil lay waiting for the day it would be released once more. And deep beneath the sands, in the silence of the stone chamber, the sarcophagus waited, its occupant bound in eternal slumber, guarding the world against a force that could never truly be destroyed. In the blistering heat of the Atacama Desert, under a sky that seemed to stretch on endlessly, a team of elite archaeologists embarked on what they believed would be a routine excavation. Dr. Elena Marquez, the leader of the expedition, was a seasoned anthropologist with a reputation for uncovering lost civilizations. However, this time, something about the expedition felt different, ominous even. The air was thick with a strange energy, and the locals had warned them to stay away from the area, calling it El Cementerio de los Dioses, the cemetery of the gods. Driven by curiosity and the promise of uncovering an untouched archaeological site, Dr. Marquez and her team pressed on, ignoring the warnings. They set up camp near a series of ancient stone pillars jutting out from the sand, their surfaces covered in what appeared to be undecipherable glyphs. The desert wind howled through the pillars, producing an eerie sound that seemed to echo from deep within the earth. As they began their work, strange occurrences began to plague the camp. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation, and the team's communication devices picked up static-laden whispers that no one could understand. Some team members reported seeing shadows moving just beyond the light of their campfires, but when they investigated, they found nothing. Dr. Marquez dismissed these incidents as nerves and overactive imaginations, focusing instead on the excavation. After days of digging, they unearthed a massive stone slab, buried deep beneath the sand. The slab was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its surface was covered in glyphs similar to those on the pillars, but these seemed to pulse faintly with a strange, otherworldly light. With great effort, the team managed to lift the slab, revealing a staircase that descended into the darkness below. The air that rushed up from the depths was icy cold, a stark contrast to the desert heat above. Undeterred, Dr. Marquez led her team down the staircase, their flashlights cutting through the thick, suffocating darkness. At the bottom of the stairs, they found themselves in a vast underground chamber. The walls were lined with carvings depicting scenes of what appeared to be a great battle between humans and monstrous beings that defied description: creatures with elongated limbs, sharp claws, and eyes that glowed with malevolence. In the center of the chamber stood a colossal stone sarcophagus, its surface adorned with more of the glowing glyphs. As they approached the sarcophagus, a deep sense of unease settled over the team. Some suggested they should leave, but Dr. Marquez was determined to uncover the secrets hidden within. She instructed her team to open the sarcophagus, despite their growing fear. The lid of the sarcophagus was heavy and took several men to move. As it slid open, a gust of freezing air escaped, extinguishing their lights and plunging the chamber into darkness. When they managed to relight their torches, they saw it. A mummified figure, curled in a fetal position, its skin a sickly gray and its eyes tightly shut. Unlike any human remains they had ever encountered, the figure's features were distorted, almost alien in appearance. Alongside the mummy was a set of stone tablets, covered in the same glowing glyphs. Dr. Marquez carefully lifted the tablets, her hands trembling with anticipation. As she examined them, she realized that they told a story of an ancient race that had once ruled over the earth, a race that had been worshipped as gods by the early humans. According to the tablets, these beings possessed powers beyond human comprehension, but they were not benevolent. They fed on fear and despair, driving entire civilizations to madness before devouring them. The tablets described how the early humans had rebelled against these beings, sealing their leaders in stone sarcophagi and burying them deep within the earth to prevent them from ever rising again. As Dr. Marquez read the final lines of the tablets, a chill ran down her spine. The glyphs warned that disturbing the tombs would awaken the Ancient Ones, releasing their wrath upon the world once more. Suddenly, the chamber began to shake violently, as if the earth itself was rebelling against their presence. The team scrambled to leave, but the staircase they had descended had collapsed, trapping them in the chamber. Panic set in as they realized they were not alone. The shadows on the walls began to move, forming into twisted, nightmarish shapes. The mummified figure in the sarcophagus began to stir, its eyes slowly opening to reveal empty black voids. A low, guttural sound filled the chamber, reverberating through the very stones. The Ancient One was awakening. Desperate to escape, the team tried to find another way out, but the chamber seemed to stretch on endlessly, the walls closing in around them. One by one, they were picked off by the shadows, their screams echoing in the darkness. Dr. Marquez, clutching the tablets, was the last to remain. As the Ancient One fully awakened, it began to speak in a language that Dr. Marquez couldn't understand, but its meaning was clear. She had unleashed something far beyond her control. The Ancient One reached out with its mind, invading her thoughts, filling her with visions of a world consumed by darkness and despair. In a last-ditch effort to stop the Ancient One, Dr. Marquez used the knowledge from the tablets to attempt a binding ritual, hoping to seal the creature back within the sarcophagus. But as she chanted the incantation, the shadows closed in around her, whispering words of doom and madness in her ears. Just as she completed the ritual, the chamber exploded with light, and everything went silent. When Dr. Marquez opened her eyes, she found herself alone in the chamber. The sarcophagus was sealed once more, and the shadows had vanished. She made her way back to the surface, where she was found days later by a rescue team. They reported that the site had been destroyed by what appeared to be a massive earthquake, but there were no signs of the rest of her team. Dr. Marquez was hailed as a survivor, but she knew the truth. The Ancient One was not defeated, it was merely contained, waiting for the day when it could rise again. She spent the rest of her life trying to warn others, but no one would listen. And so she kept the tablets, the only evidence of what she had seen, hidden away, hoping that no one would ever find them. But deep beneath the sands of the Atacama Desert, the whispers of the Ancient Ones continued, growing louder with each passing day, as they awaited the moment when they would once again be free to wreak havoc upon the world.